Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I thank my honourable friend for securing this really important debate today. And listening to all the stories from all sides of the House, it is quite clear that this isn't simply a political debate, but it is deeply personal to pretty much everyone who is here. Now, my father, he had dementia as well, and he's a typical Irish farmer. He was, very strong-willed, is physically tough, fiercely independent, and he's used to working all hours of the day. And so watching that man slip away, becoming increasingly confused and anxious and very often unreasonably angry, it was one of the most heartbreaking experiences of my life. And I know I'm not alone in experiencing a very similar story. And many members have said, actually, that it is with dementia, you lose the person you love twice, like first slowly, piece by piece, and then again at the end. And while the final loss, it can feel like a relief, it's actually sort of grief that has gone on. It's like a prolonged bereavement, and the grief has started sometimes years before that. So it's a brutal disease, not just for those who are experiencing it, but for those who are caring, their spouses, children, families. It's the relentless emotional toil, sleepless nights, endless juggling, the silent mourning that it's all happy to give way.
Thank my honourable friend for giving way. He shares the experience of losing his father. I indeed lost my father in the same way, and he too was a proud farming man. But I wanted to raise an issue that a constituent raised with me. She contacted me about her father, James. He's currently alone in a room in a hospital, and he is scared to mix with other violent dementia patients. He wants to be at home. The family wants him to be at home, but there's barriers within social care in Somerset at the moment. So does he agree with me that dementia patients should be able to live independently at home with dignity and receive the care that they...
Order. Danny Chambers.
I thank my honourable friend for that intervention. Yes, and empowering people to live as independently as possible is hugely important. For me, for many years actually, there was guilt. I felt a lot of guilt for the moments of resentment that you feel for the way it's affecting your job and your career, for losing patience when you're facing the anger of someone that you're trying to care for. I remember Dad didn't really understand that all we're trying to do is help. And the member for Whitby made a very, very... Wetherby, sorry, member for Wetherby. I wish I'd understood at the time when we were caring for my father, the very insightful piece of advice he said is don't argue with people. There's no need to correct their current understanding of the world. My grandfather was born in 1870. My father kept asking where he was, and we're trying to explain, he'd be 130 now if he was still. Why did we have these discussions? And I think that is a hugely important and emotive piece of advice. Yes, I will give way.
Thank you for giving way. When I led a district council, one of the things that we tried to do was make sure that we were taking initiatives that made us more dementia friendly, and there is some excellent training out there run by Alzheimer's Society. I wonder whether he would agree with me that that's something that maybe all MP offices should be seeking to do so that we can be compassionate in the way that he describes.
There's no way, I completely agree with what the honourable member has just suggested, and there's no way you can approach dementia without a huge amount of compassion and empathy. So this... Yes, I will give way.
I thank the honourable member for drawing attention to that issue of not seeking to correct those with dementia as to where they are in that particular moment. But I think in that respect, dementia care and understanding has come a long way. And in fact, that is now the standard, is that you don't seek to try and correct where someone thinks they might be. And I thank him for raising that issue here in the chamber, along with my honourable friend, the member for Easing Wold and somewhere else.
I thank my friend for that intervention. And yes, I remember trying to explain to my father that the sheepdogs, which he loved training, he didn't recognise it as his own dog anymore, which is very unusual for a farmer. And there's no need to really have that discussion, because but it was heartbreaking. The dog loved my dad, and Dad not recognising him anymore was very upsetting. But This all still feels very raw, but my story, as can be seen today, is not in any way unique. There's so many families, like in Winchester and around the whole country, experiencing something very, very similar, this heartbreaking journey. And caring for my father is one of the hardest things that my family have ever done. And I just want to pay tribute to my mother, who bore the brunt of caring for my father for many years. My sister Irene helped hugely for years and years. My cousin Patrick, our neighbours, James and Debbie Hodgson, that we couldn't have managed without them. But the truth is, especially near the end, we couldn't have done it without the extraordinary support of the care workers who had come and help on a regular basis. Because their compassion, their skill and their dedication really helped get us through some of the darkest days. And I remember the dedication was extraordinary. One of our care workers would come in, Dad, he loved singing, and she had printed out some of the songs that Dad knew, some old Methodist hymn, The Old Rugged Cross, and Danny Boy, which was his favourite song, and it's the song that I'm named after. He might not have remembered our dog, but he could remember every word of Danny Boy when he was singing it. It's quite extraordinary, that the dedication that care workers do to find out someone's favourite song and then sing it with them. So these same care workers, they're vital, they're skilled, they're often underpaid, undervalued, and they're stretched beyond endurance. And we just cannot allow that to continue. And that is why the Liberal Democrats were calling for urgent and meaningful reform of social care, reform that starts with recognising and properly rewarding and supporting the workforce that underpins it. So we've been calling for a national social care workforce plan, not for the can being kicked further down the road, but a real plan to address recruitment, retention and training with practical steps to fix the staffing crisis. Because we want to establish a Royal College of Care Workers to give care professionals the recognition and career development they deserve. And at this moment I'll pay tribute to Liz Blacklock from Winchester, who runs Lapis Care, based in Bishop's Roltham, and I went out with them a few weeks ago on some visits. She's long been calling for a formal register of care workers, which would be one of the functions of any new Royal College of Care Workers. Liberal Democrats were also calling for a national carers register, so that all unpaid family carers can be better supported, for example, with statutory respite care. And we're also calling for a higher carers minimum wage, because paying poverty wages for such emotionally and physically demanding work is not only unjust, it's short-sighted, it drives burnout, turnover, and ultimately worse care.
Yeah.
Let's be clear. Dementia is not going away. 1 in 3 people born today will develop it. My friend from Worthing West was, with her public health experience, was very insightful with all her advice on how we can help prevent dementia. The financial pressures on local authorities, Madam Deputy Speaker, driven in large part by adult social care, are among the most urgent political challenges of this decade. And in Winchester, the Chesel Lodge Day Centre provides essential care for older adults, including those with dementia. It is an important service, providing respite care for family members. And Hampshire County Council is threatening to withdraw funding, and this could overwhelm unpaid carers, forcing loved ones into residential care, which in the end will cost the council and taxpayers more. Madam Deputy Speaker, I'll just finish by saying that with the political will, proper investment and genuine commitment to valuing care work, we can build a system that supports people with dementia in dignity and gives their families the help and hope they so desperately need.